Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Stand With Us on JLTV. We are so excited today because we have with us RonKrudo, who is the Director of Campus Affairs for Stand With Us, which it's a very, very big job. And so he's here to tell us what's going on campus, how he got to it, and what the latest challenges are. So this is going to be a very, very interesting show. So we're glad you're with us today. I want to remind everybody that you can order one free Stand With Us piece of material, publication. Go through the website, standwithus.com, check it out, and then ask for one publication, any one that you want, for free, just to learn anything you want about Stand With Us and about Israel, of course. Our mission is Israel, all the time. Let's educate each other. Okay, speaking of that, so let's start with when you were on campus. RonKrudo, you were on campus at Florida
State University.
And you became a leader at that time right away. What were the problems that you saw, and what did you do about it?
Yeah, so my first 2 years of college, I would say I was like every other college student where I just wanted to have fun. I was involved in school, but not like the top leader on campus. And then I went to Israel, and when I got back, I was walking in the middle of campus, much like any other student would, proud of my Israeli Defense Forces shirt that I was wearing. And out of nowhere, someone started yelling at me like, "Oh, you took the land away from the brown people, the indigenous people." And I couldn't believe it. And it really fired me up. And as an Israeli, I got a little upset. I started arguing, and I marched right up to the pro-Israel table because I knew I didn't know what to say or what to do. And I said to them, I want to get involved. I want to be a leader. And it was sophomore year of college, I think it was, and I ended up joining on. And it was actually the Emerson Fellow, the Stand With Us Emerson Fellow, that got me involved.
Wow. Okay, now let's back up for 1 second. You said you're Israeli, so your parents are both Israeli?
Yes, both my parents are Israeli.
Israeli-American.
Israeli-American. I was born here. I'm a first-generation American, born in New York, and I learned from them a lot about Israeli culture and the feeling of being Israeli, proud of being Israeli. Not really the facts and the information, though. I'll tell you honestly, love my parents. They instilled in me this die-hard love for Israel, but as many Israelis, I didn't have the concrete information that I needed to stand up for it.
So did you hear what he just said? Because this is very important. A lot of people grow up loving Israel. They want to visit, they support the state, they understand that Jews are indigenous to the area and have been for thousands of years, and they understand that connection, and then they hear these things and they really do not know what to do and how to respond. So part of what we do is we empower them, the people who already care about Israel. We empower them to be able to have richer and better conversations about Israel. So what did you do next? And tell us about Fly.
Yes, so I was spot on, actually. I became this hot-headed Israeli when they started yelling at me. And so when I got involved with the Pro-Israel Club, that was my hope. I wanted to learn. I wanted to understand. I knew my people were indigenous, but what does that really mean, and where did that story come from? So I got to connect with Stand With Us. I started learning. I started reading the information from the booklets and kind of gaining a better understanding of my people's history. And my friend and I, the Stand With Us Emerson Fellow, came up with this idea that was supported by Stand With Us. It was this FLY conference. It was Future Leaders for Israel, or Florida Loves Israel. We brought together over 150 college students from around the state of Florida, organizations from across the board, from all political spectrums, to educate and inspire and engage college students from all over the state of Florida to give them the tools to be proud of their story and how to stand up for Israel. And Stand With Us was one of our biggest supporters. They gave us the funding to do it, the guidance to make it happen. I mean, I'm in Stand With Us today because of that conference, because of the support I got.
So that's right. I remember very well approving.
Yes.
I remember it came to me and they said, there's this guy that I didn't know.
No.
There's this guy at this university in Florida who wants to run this program that is student run. Can we help support them with funding and with some speakers? Can we do that? I remember it like it was yesterday, and it was you. And I thought, well, whoever's doing it is great, and I really salute them, but okay, we'll do it with money and speakers. But I hadn't met him yet. No. So, okay, so tell us, so that was very successful.
Yes. It was
very successful.
Huge success, actually. It kind of positioned me in understanding where my passions were and gave me an outlet for speaking up for Israel, speaking up for my family's story. And so we did it for 3 years, actually, and Stand With Us was a supporter throughout all the years. We did it at Florida State University, University of Florida, and then Florida Atlantic University, where, I don't know if you remember at FAU, that's where the president of the university was asked to resign because of the fact that she was allowing so much anti-Israel activity to happen there. And then within that same year, Fly happened at that campus, and Stand With Us was one of our supporters, and we were able to take it to the next level. And I worked for Hillel during that time, and I was very involved. And then I got connected with Avi Gordon. I don't know if you remember, but Avi and I used to be very close. And
Avi Gordon is now working for us in a different
yes,
part of the work that we do, and I'll explain that later. But Avi Gordon at the time was working for us in the second position in the campus hierarchy.
Yep.
And I remember him coming to me and saying, you know, keep your eye on RonKrudo, keep your eye on him because he's going to graduate and we should really offer him a job. Now, when you graduated, you started working for Hillel first, right?
yes, I was getting my master's, I was working for Hillel, and then I think it was the last year of Fly, actually, when Avi said to me, you know, I think you'd be perfect for a position at Stand With Us. You should come join us. And I felt like it was home. I wanted to do it. It was a lot of fun.
So that was when I formally met you.
Yes.
After we had supported you for years.
Yes.
And we grabbed you.
You did.
We did. We grabbed you.
You did. It was funny enough. My interview was on the first night before we started Fly at FAU. I think it was like 11 o'clock at night. You never stop working, as much as I don't stop working. And we were Skyping, I think, doing my interview. And it was the first time we ever met over Skype. And I knew it was right. You and Jerry, actually.
So just a secret that I never told you, I knew I was hiring you before I had that Skype
Really?
meeting with you. Yeah, he was already done for. He was ours. So we are about to go to a commercial break. But since you've come to Stand With Us, you have a very global view of what's going on campus, the problems, and you've been really engaged in solutions. So we're going to get into all those issues when we come back after the commercial break. Welcome back to Stand With Us on JLTV. We're here with RonKrudo, who is the director of all our campus activities. And we're talking about his story, his transition from being a student and inspiring students on the ground and bringing students from all over Florida together to learn together, etc. And how he got hired at Stand With Us because of his leadership skills. And then, so we're going to continue your story. But before we do, I want to just make sure that everybody understands what inspires the work of Stand With Us. There are three things that inform all the work we do. Low information. People are really uninformed about Israel. So if they get information that's not true, they're very vulnerable. The second thing is low inspiration. And low inspiration is very important because you can have all the information out there, but if it's not in your heart, it doesn't make you feel something, you're not going to get engaged with it. And the third thing is anti-Semitism. So the anti-Semitism that's been rising for the 17 years that Stand With Us has been around and growing, we're almost at our 18th year now, that has really been problematic, and we've watched the rise for all the years that we've been. That's actually what started us to begin with, the anti-Semitism, the new form of anti-Semitism. So now here enter RonKrudo into the campus world of Stand With Us. What were some of the first things that you saw?
You know, that information you were sharing is exactly spot on. I mean, what I saw on college campuses was apathy. Students were not excited to get involved, and even if they were excited, it wasn't cool to be in the pro-Israel world, I would say. You had a lack of information. A lot of the pro-Israel kids on campus were excited to do Israel Fests or do fun, lively programs on campus, much like my peers were, but they weren't actually developing a concrete education on the issues that's going on and about Israeli history in general. And then last but not least, I jumped into a world where I came from a very apathetic campus, and I started seeing the real anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism happening around the country when I moved into my national role. I was seeing BDS popping up all over Canada. There was 11 BDS votes in the matter of 3 years when I started working for Stand With Us. Now we've defeated all 11 that have come up and more. But those are the realities that I came into when I stepped into the role.
So to be clear also, we not only work across the United States, but we also work in Canada, and we work hard in Canada. And we just opened up a significant organized way of working in London, in the UK. Across those campuses, we actually have 22 Emerson Fellows. The Emerson Fellows are like mini staff people that work for Stand With Us and try to educate their cadre of friends on their campuses and in their communities. So they're very, very important. So we have 22 now in the UK, all because of low inspiration, low information, and anti-Semitism, all because of those three things, right?
Yeah, and those Emerson Fellows are literally the grassroots leaders on their campuses. They give that inspiration through the tools we give them to inspire their peers to be that crazy, lonely person on campus to starting a movement. We give them the education they need. All of them are required to do Israel 101 educational programs on their campus, do additional presentations and bring speakers. And then lastly, when an anti-Israel activity shows up, I have the ability to work with my research and strategy team to provide them with tools, knowledge, and next steps to be either ahead of the problem or be able to address the problem. We even have our legal department who's been working hand in hand with my department, with the campus team, to support students that are dealing with legal issues too. So when I think of the Emerson Fellows on campus and the resources we provide, they're really starting a movement. They're addressing those three major challenges that we see.
So let me just, I love what you just said, because it's a picture of our work with the Emerson Fellows on college campuses and other students that are not quite Emersons, but they're big leaders like you were on your campus. We find them, we look for them, we look for those leaders, and we partner with them on the ground. We help them do what they want to do, but in a much better, fuller way. Like, you know, the materials that we have that we're offering to you, we actually give hundreds of thousands every single year of the different kinds of materials so they can share them with their friends. The legal help that we give is something brand new. We've actually dealt with over 500 different incidents on college campuses, in high schools, and in communities, and it's very important because they need help.
Yeah.
This is a time when they're being bullied, challenged. An Israeli flag will be ripped up, and then where does the kid go? If they go to the administration, sometimes nobody gives them any help. So, you know, these are things that we need to get involved with, and now we have a mechanism. We actually have, I know you know this, we actually have 150 pro bono attorneys across the United States that are waiting to help students and faculty and communities with these bullying, anti-Semitic things.
They're amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
One of my most recent staff members who joined the team actually dealt with something like that at their own university, where the professor was denying them the ability to intern at a local Jewish organization. And she waited until the end of the school year, but our legal team and even our press team supported them, gave them guidance, information on how to address the issue. And that individual, that administrator and professor, is no longer working for the university because of what they did, denying that student the ability, because I believe the organization she was looking to get involved with wasn't pro-Palestinian enough for them. Even though they talked about issues and had conversations, it wasn't enough. And we had to...
I think it was too Jewish.
Too Jewish.
It was too Jewish.
Maybe not too Jewish.
You know,
That's what it was a funny situation.
Ridiculous,
where,
ridiculous, insulting
Yeah.
situation. We took it very seriously and gave the student the help that they needed.
Exactly.
And what about the student that... a professor promised this wonderful student that she would receive a letter of recommendation
From the University of Michigan.
From the University of Michigan professor, and then he decides, oh, you're going to Israel? You're going to go to Tel Aviv University? I'm sorry, I'm not going to write that letter of recommendation. He says, I'm part of the BDS movement.
Yep.
So we're going to take a commercial break right now, but we'll be back with more stories from RonKrudo. Don't go away. Welcome back to Stand With Us on JLTV. Don't forget to support JLTV because it's one of a kind, promoting and doing all these different shows on televisions everywhere. So RonKrudo, our guest today, is talking about some of the challenges that we have been facing on college campuses in America, in Canada, and in the UK. Particularly, those are the places that we have targeted for help. And once again, everything that drives us, that motivates our work, wrapped up into 3 points: low information, making people vulnerable; low inspiration, we need to get them involved, we need to get them to want to be involved; and anti-Semitism. So we're just reviewing a few stories that come to mind that you've seen over the years of your work at Stand With Us. So can you think of a few?
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple that I think address these points specifically. One would be a student, Eliyav Turk, who we worked with when he was a high school student, actually. He was not involved in our internships, was connected very much with our organization and the work that we do. And he had a principal at his school tell him that his causes, his issues, the concerns he was dealing with, which were students on campus covering the Israeli flag with the Palestinian flag or ripping down the Israeli flag, students attacking for him verbally, he should put them aside because the issues of the other students were more important. And it was just ridiculous to have a principal deny a student his rights, considering what he was experiencing. And our legal team helped him out. And now that same student who fought against the student board, got them of the high school, got them to provide education across the board for all the teachers at his school, is now involved on campus at the University of Texas Austin and has been active, been leading the front, taking the education we gave him, and now he's leading the API chapter there. I mean, those are the kind of kids we're working with, and it's so inspirational. It hits that inspiration aspect.
So we started working in high school to make sure that the students are prepared, that really great high-level leaders are prepared to take a lead role in college campuses. So.
Exactly. And there's another student, not the high school world, but more of the general world of the work that we do. UC Santa Barbara has dealt with BDS year after year for the past, 7 years almost now. We're coming into another year of a BDS campaign. And Sarah Tagger, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to speak with her. She's unbelievable. She works for us here at Stand With Us, as you know, Roz. She now was involved with us for the 4 years at UC Santa Barbara, defeated BDS all of those 4 years, and now works for Stand With Us, helping students around the country fight BDS.
So just to be clear, it's wonderful, and we really do need to bring Sarah on the show. Sarah fought BDS 4 years in a row with our partnership. And so that's how we knew her. We knew her very well. We supported her all the way, and she was a wonderful leader on campus. And now she's helping other students through her job at Stand With Us. She's helping other students who are going through the same thing at their campuses. She's helping them fight the fight and win the battle, or even if they don't win, they actually win because they get their messages out there in response to lies and misinformation. So it's very important that we engage with this battle for hearts and minds.
I mean, we're talking about the general student population not getting the information they need and sharing it publicly. One that really hits home, I think, is a young man, Truman, from the University of Virginia. I think it was last year or a little bit before that, there was a march on campus of a white supremacist group that chanted in the middle of campus, "Jews will not replace us." I mean, it was horrific, and they were marching around with like picks and these torches, and it was really scary. And it was really something unbelievable to see.
Think of the Frankenstein movie.
Literally,
okay.
literally.
There's with pitchforks and
torches.
We're after you.
It was some scary stuff.
Jews will not replace us. Okay, this sounds archaic.
You can't believe it, and it's the heart of a campus at University of Virginia. And Truman has an entire video immediately after that talking about how what they said was wrong and how they will not divide their campus. And this student leader worked with us for a number of years as a high school student and then in college, got training with us. I actually took him on Birthright, so I have a personal relationship with him too. And he spoke out against these type of issues. And it's very relevant right now, especially with what's going on around the world. And our students are speaking up against it, which I think is an empowering thing. And then the last story I wanted to share was out of the UK. I don't know if you heard about it, but there was a recently an ambassador who wanted to speak on campus from Israel who was denied access because the campus was too scared of what might happen. They didn't want to provide the security. They knew that in the past, speakers and even students were harassed physically
Was
or
that
attacked.
Mark Regev?
Yes,
That
yes.
couldn't speak
They denied him access
on the
to speak.
campus.
Exactly.
I remember, okay.
But then after our students being persistent, speaking up against it, explaining why education was so important and denying them the ability to speak out was against their free speech to be able to do that, they ended up doing the event.
So the school must have decided, maybe we should help secure this
Maybe we should do
so that
something
he
about
can
it.
speak, right?
Yeah, and it's just such a good example of how even though there's this lack of education and this low inspiration around the country, our students are speaking up and are inspiring their peers to still stand up against it. And at the end of the day, when there is that anti-Semitism, when it pops up with Eliav in dealing with his issue, or Truman dealing with the marches on his campus, or the students in the UK dealing with the speaker being denied, that anti-Semitism won't last. They're going to stand up against it. They'll speak up against it with our work.
And thank God, because seriously, at the beginning of Stand With Us, I had 2 crying girls in the office talking about UCLA and other schools. It was very symbolically representative, telling us that this is literally exactly what they said. You would think that organizations would be falling over themselves to help us on our campus, but nobody is home. Nobody is helping us. And look at what we're looking at. They forced me literally to come and see at UC Irvine and UCLA and at Northridge and all of the neighborhood schools in Los Angeles, all of the greater area and nearby, what they were looking at. And when I saw it, I literally got high blood pressure. But it's time to say goodbye, and so we will have to bring you back on the show.
Definitely.
To hear more from you, and we are so grateful that you live in Florida.
Yes.
So we're grateful that you're here today in Los Angeles taping at JLTV, and I want to remind everybody, please support the work of Stand With Us. If you're in a position to do that, we need your help. And if you know someone with a foundation that can help us, please help us, because this kind of work is essential, wonderful work. And by the way, now we have so many partner organizations that are also helping on campus. It's not like it was 17 years ago, but we need to support it. So thank you, Ron, for visiting and being with us today, and for all your amazing work.
Thank you for having me on the show, Roz. I really appreciate it.
Okay. We'll see you next time on JLTV.